Hey everyone, welcome to week 3 of distance learning and the third installment of hashtag real life with Ramstad. Hope this video finds you well and that you were able to go outside and enjoy the nice weather on this long, relaxing weekend. Know that I still miss you and that I want to help and support you in any way that I possibly can. So if you need anything or come up with anything that you need help with, feel free to shoot me an email or give me a phone call on my school phone, and I'd be more than happy to assist in any way that I possibly can. Even if you just want to call to catch up and check in and see how things are going, I love to get those emails and those school phone calls too. So feel free to not be a stranger as we go through this distance learning period. Okay, so as promised last week, we looked at pre-interview, what to do before your interview, all the research and the job application and the resume cover letter and all that stuff. This week, we're going to talk about what to do during the actual job interview itself. Now, the first thing to note is that we should be in the correct attire for our job interview, okay? I want to break this down. There's a variety of different clothing that we can wear in our daily lives and to an interview. This falls into like a couple of key buckets. So first bucket is casual clothes, like what I'm wearing right now. So a t-shirt, shorts, jeans, whatnot. Second is business casual. So business casual would be a polo shirt and khakis or black slacks. And business professional then is a full out suit, tie, shirt, black pants. If you're a lady, casual would be jeans and jeans or shorts and a t-shirt or whatnot. Business casual and business professional are kind of blurred together for females. That could be anything from wearing a nice appropriate length dress, or maybe even, I think there's these things called like pantsuits or things like that the ladies are wearing. That would be considered a business professional or business casual, depending on the color scheme for you all as well. And obviously, two blazers would be business professional for ladies. So when you go to a job interview, you want to know what you would be wearing on a day-to-day basis at that particular job and dress one level above that. So if you're going to be working in an industry where you're going to have pretty casual clothes, like let's say the trades, dress up one level ahead of that. So wear khakis and a nice button-down shirt, or maybe a nice dress to your job interview. Don't show up in holey jeans and a t-shirt. You want to dress the part, you want to dress professionally, and kind of hopefully have a good first impression, because what you wear to an interview does say a lot about who you are, and hopefully that you care about your job that you're applying for. So that's the first thing we got to do, is we got to dress the part. We got to dress professionally. So I'm going to go ahead and demonstrate that. Look here, now you're ready to rock and roll for your interview. You're dressed up one level above what you normally would be doing at your job. You got a nice tie or dress on with a nice collared shirt. You're ready to go for this interview. You walk into the room. The first thing you want to do is make eye contact with the people that you're interviewing with and shake their hands. Now, the biggest tip I have for you when shaking hands is to go web to web. So if you look at your hand, this is your web. So you want this web to meet their web. Now, obviously, it's not working very well for me here because I have both of my hands, social distancing. I don't have another person here right now, but you have your web from your thumb reach into the web of the other person and then shake up and down. Some people shake up and down 3 times. Some people just shake a couple of times. It really doesn't matter, but just don't make it super long and awkward, okay? Then it's time to get ready and go into your interview. Now, they're going to start off probably by introducing themselves, talking a little bit about themselves, and they're going to give you an opportunity to share about yourself, probably through the question, tell me about yourself. And for this week's check-in assignment, your task is to tell me about yourself on the Flipgrid. No need to dress up or do anything fancy schmancy for that, but just a good platform for you to practice telling us about yourself, okay? Then they're going to ask you a variety of different questions, and some of these questions are going to be known as behavior-based questions, and some of these are just going to be general questions. So we'll talk about behavior questions first, because these are generally a little bit more challenging to wrap our minds around. So behavior-based questions are becoming a lot more popular for hiring committees, essentially because they don't test you necessarily on what you know, but about how you respond in a situation. And since you don't know what the questions are going to be, you have to think at the top of your head. And it really shows the interview committee the type of person that you are. So there is a secret formula that I like to call SARA that you can utilize when answering these questions. And SARA is an acronym, and as you can tell, SARA, 4 parts. The first part on a behavior-based question is to tell me about the situation. So a behavior-based question is going to be something about, tell me about a time when you took leadership on a team, or tell me about a time when you overcame a significant challenge. So they're going to ask you to talk about a specific time. So the first piece in answering that question is to give some context, or S for situation. Tell me about the background of what was going on, okay? Then give me the action. What specific actions did you take in that situation to help clarify or solve that problem? The third are results. So we told about our situation, we talked about the actions. R stands for results. What results did we accomplish as a result of our actions, good, bad, or indifferent? And finally, the fourth and most important part of Sarah is application. So this gives you an opportunity to apply what you've learned from this experience to your position that you're interviewing for. So I'm going to give you an example of Sarah, and I'm going to give you my answer, and then I'm going to have you dissect so you can see if I met S, A, R, and A. So situation, action, results, and application. So the question that I'm going to give you an example for is, tell me about a time when you made a mistake. Okay, so for me, I enjoy making a lot of different recipes. I enjoy challenging myself in the kitchen, whether that's grilling, baking, cooking, and whatnot. I really enjoy food and working with food, but I'm not always perfect in the kitchen. And one time, a couple weeks ago, actually, I was making a homemade macaroni and cheese, and it called for a quarter cup of butter. Now, I am generally somebody who enjoys dairy products, but I don't like to overconsume dairy products necessarily, especially butter, because it can get kind of greasy, especially in a recipe, because I don't want it to turn out bad. Unfortunately, though, I accidentally put in a half a cup of butter instead of a quarter cup of butter into my macaroni and cheese recipe, and this caused it to come out very oily and greasy. However, I decided to make the best of it by adding additional ingredients to double my recipe in essence. So I added twice the amount of noodles, twice the amount of cheese, twice the amount of milk, and all the other ingredients to kind of dilute for how much butter I had put in my original recipe. And as a result, I was able to enjoy macaroni and cheese for the rest of the week, and not just for one or two individual meals. So I was able to make the best out of this situation and learn from my mistake as a result. Going into this job, I would then apply the skills that I've gained through making and learning from my mistakes by putting a positive twist on things when outcomes don't necessarily go the best for us. And I know that macaroni and cheese isn't something that I necessarily will be working on as part of this job, but the same principle applies. And I know that if I do make a mistake, I can always use my positive attitude and positive energy to bring about the best in any type of situation. So that's my answer for tell me about a time when you made a mistake. Situation, that would have been me talking about how I enjoy cooking and what I did and how I was making macaroni and cheese. Action would be a conglomerate of different things. It could be anything from me saying that I accidentally doubled my butter recipe, to me deciding to double the other components of the recipe to dilute the butter. That could also kind of shift into results too, depending on how you look at it. And then the application then obviously is when I discuss what I could do to bring a positive spin when I make mistakes on this particular job. Okay, so your answers don't necessarily have to be something big, fancy, and this huge production. As you see here, my mistake was pretty trivial. I just doubled the amount of butter in a recipe and learned from that and moved on with my life. But feel free to find examples and reflect on examples before you go into your interview so you have them ready to go, whether they're really significant or maybe not as significant. If I were you too, I would keep a journal of specific stories or events that have happened to you that you could easily pull out and use in an interview, okay? After your behavior-based questions, a lot of interviews are going to ask you some general questions like, tell me about yourself, or talk about your biggest accomplishment. And these don't necessarily need the specific Sarah format. But Sarah's kind of a nice way to remind you we should always try to apply what we are discussing to our actual job that we're applying for. Okay, so you knocked all these questions out of the park. You did a great job answering everything the interview committee had been asking you. You're going to end by asking them questions. So they're going to ask you, what questions do you have for us? Or can we clarify anything? This is your opportunity to get to know the interview committee a little bit better and maybe show off that you've done your homework. So what I recommend to people who ask me for interview advice is go onto the company's website and look at their mission statement or their values or whatnot. And feel free to write this stuff down before the interview and bring this in so you have these questions ready to go and ask them those questions. Like, how do you carry out your mission and your daily tasks at the job? Or what are some specific things that you do at your work to help influence or better the work culture? Things like that really show that you're invested and truly wanting to learn more about the company. Okay. And then at the very end, after they answer all your questions, you're going to want to get their contact information so you can write them a fancy schmancy thank you card, which we're going to talk about a little bit next week. And then you're going to want to end again with a solid handshake web to web. So hopefully this crash course gave you a nice little tutorial about how to knock your interview questions out of the park. We have a variety of question banks that I can post on Google Classroom or Canvas if you're interested in extending this a little bit further. But for now, feel free to go over to the Flipgrid and answer the tell me about yourself question for the week to get your daily attendance check-in. So thanks again. As always, let me know if there's anything I can do to help or support you. We got this, guys.